Annie's here from Mindful Sales Training, and this is a little experiment, these little webinars. Just I want to see how else I can serve you. So I'm doing this as a test, and if it's useful for you, please tell me so I can continue doing it. Now, I decided to pick objection handling first because it's the most common question people ask me when they're finding challenges with selling. Now, the irony of that is the reason objection handling becomes a problem is because the selling hasn't gone on further on, higher up in the sales process, which is the investigation. When you haven't uncovered the needs of the client, you tend to come up with the objections. But we'll deal with that in another chapter. For now, I'm going to talk about how you can deal with objections. Now, there are at least 8 different types of objections you get, but I'm going to talk about a couple within this process, answering questions that you've specifically asked. Now, the good news is, when someone gives you an objection, yeah, believe it or not, there is good news. The good news is it's an opportunity for you to show your professionalism. Why? Because what's key about this stage is maintaining the relationship and maintaining engagement. And when you do, you're showing that you're not just there just for the kill, just for the buy. Okay? When they say no, sometimes you step away and you maintain the relationship with them. It's a great opportunity but you have to keep them engaged, okay? And one of the main reasons is you haven't uncovered all of their concerns. You haven't uncovered all of the buyer's concerns. And no matter what you do not start going into a haggling match like you're in a market, in the Grand Central Bazaar in Istanbul. Don't do that because it simply devalues your product, okay? So here's what we'll do is I'll walk you through the 3-step system, and during that time I'll address some of the specific questions you asked, like if there's confusion about your product and of course price objections. Now, step 1 is when they come up with an objection, ask them, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Why? Because you want to make sure that sometimes price can be a hidden it can be like a fake objection. Sometimes price is a fake objection. So what you want to do is say something like, okay, if we could put price to one side, or if price was no object, are there any other concerns? That's giving them an opportunity to air out any other concerns. You never know what they might be. Maybe they need to speak to other stakeholders. Maybe they're waiting on some other suppliers, or you just never know. It's an opportunity for you to uncover the other objections. So the first thing is to find out, is there anything else? And listen, let them talk, okay? Step 2 is to go back to their objectives, go back to their goals, their aims. Now, this is the sort of information that you should have uncovered earlier on during the sales cycle, when you do the investigation, when you uncover the buyer's needs. So what you do is you ask them, for example, you mentioned that you want to grow your business and you want to get to 10 clients in the upcoming year. So why is that important to you? So you go back to them and what they're trying to achieve. You take the onus off you, take the onus off the price, go it back to them. And then the third step is to go back to value, because people buy value. They don't buy a widget, they don't buy a thing that you're giving them, they buy the outcome. So if they don't fully understand what they're getting, which is where the confusion comes in, if they're confused about the value or the benefits, this is an opportunity for you to either say something like, take full responsibility, say something like, I'm sorry, I haven't had my second dose of coffee today, so I haven't been very clear with you. Can you please explain what's unclear? So you give them, instead of you telling them, talk, which is typically what people reflexively do, step back a bit and ask them what area is unclear so you can then explain that area. Does that make sense? Because otherwise you're just rattling off a whole lot of information and it's basically just throwing whatever sticks to the wall and hoping something sticks, okay? So take a step back. If confusion is an objection, ask them, can you clarify, okay? And then so the step 3, going back to value. You ask them, in order to understand if they understand the value, ask them, how do you think your widget or your service, how do you think this can help you achieve your objectives? If they can't answer the question, it means we haven't explained the value to them. Okay, and but when they do ask that question and they do start answering that question, okay, how can this help you? Then they will explain the reasons. What you could then do is ask them, why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? Because what this does is, instead of you telling them the benefits, instead of you telling, you're asking them to come up with the reasons why it's beneficial. Because people are more likely to believe what they say than what we tell them. Okay? And then what you can then do is, when you achieve your objectives, when you hit your goal, whatever it is that they've set is their target, their aim, then you could then say is, what will this then allow you to achieve? What can you then do as a result of achieving these objectives? So what you're doing is you're shifting their thinking from short term, which tends to be most objections. Most objections are really short term focused. What you're doing is shifting their thinking from short term to long term, but you're asking them to come up with a rationale themselves. Does that make sense? I'm hoping it is. Yeah, I'm hoping it is. So that's another tactic, shifting their viewpoint from short term to long term, but getting them to come up with the rationale and the reasons behind it. Okay, and you do that by asking these questions, the why questions, and going back to them. All right, and so just specifically answering some of the questions about pricing. It's a common one again. People haven't really accepted the value of what they're getting. Okay, that's the key thing. Sometimes price is a price objection, and you can usually tell when it is a real price objection, a true price objection. And again, what your task is then to do is to still sell to them, but sell maintaining and re-engaging with them. Okay, not everyone is ready to buy immediately. Not everyone is going to buy next month, but they might buy in 6 months' time. Your role is then to just maintain the contact, maintain the dialogue with them. But uncovering other price objections where you think there is a bit of movement, what you could then do, there are various tactics you can do, is unbundle. Like if you're offering certain services or certain package or whatever, you could perhaps remove a few benefits, remove them a bit in order to reduce the price. So you're not just doing it just for the sake of reducing the price, because that reduces the perceived value. Okay, so remove some of the services in order to make the price more favorable for them. Okay, and another tactic you could also use is using empathy, and basically you're reinforcing the quality, the focus on the quality of what you serve. And you could say something like, look, just like you, we stopped competing on price, we now compete on quality. So surely the people you're serving appreciate good quality, so you're saying this in a roundabout way that just like you, we compete on quality. And there's going to be a subtle agreement there. And there's another tactic you can also use is, that's also when you talk about testimonials. Just like you, we compete on quality, and this is what our clients say. And this is when you bring in your list of happy clients. Always have that to hand. And then, and I've also already addressed, price tends to be a short term. Shift it to the long term by asking them, once they achieve their objectives, what would it then allow them to do? Okay, so the 3-step process, reminding you, first, is there anything else? You want to uncover if there are any other objections aside from price, or get it all out in the open and listen to all of them. Because if you immediately, the reflexive action is when they give you an objection to immediately respond. Don't do that, because then it becomes like a ping pong match, and it just gets a bit messy, and their resistance will increase, rapport will go down. What you need to maintain is rapport at this stage. And because the more rapport you build with them, the more open they will be with you, and they'll be honest with you, okay? So 1, again, is anything else. 2, go back to their objectives, go back to them, take the focus off you, off your price, go back to them and what they want to achieve. And again, you should have established this during your questioning. And 3, go back to value. Okay, if they can't answer the question about how do you think this will help you, how do you think our widget, our service will help you, then they haven't been explained the value correctly. All right, and most importantly is when people say no, there's, we can tend to feel personally offended. The key is to be present and to be detached from the outcome. And what does that mean? If we're trying to close, instead of serving them, just as a person offering services, you're trying to help someone get what they want. That's essentially what you're doing. Whatever service you're offering, you're helping someone get what they want. So when we maintain that intention of service instead of closing, buyers feel that, and they're less inclined to open up to you, and they will just feel like someone's just trying to sell to them. But when you go with the intention of trying to find a way as a consultant to figure out ways to serve them, because your product can help them get to where they want. So being detached from the outcome allows you to truly serve them in the moment and really come up with solutions and uncover all of the objections that they might have. So being present, so you can take a breath before your meeting, take 5 conscious breaths. I'd recommend 5 conscious breaths before your meeting. And so when you're there, you can listen to them actively. Okay, good. Okay, well, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, please tell me so I can carry on doing this, because if you don't like it, I don't want to waste your time and bug you with all of the emails, all right? And so this is Qizilbash from Mindful Sales Training, helping you grow your sales mindfully.